Hello guys, welcome back to LR Anime. Guys, please like the video and subscribe to my channel. Today is explanation of Renegade Immortal Part 243 to 244 based on novel. So let's start. Bai Wei's eyes narrowed, then he looked at Wang Lin and nodded. He remained silent. As time was almost up, Bai Wei took a deep breath and took a meaningful look at the world around him. Finally, his gaze looked to the east as if he saw his hometown. His eyes revealed sadness as he slowly closed them. The moment he closed his eyes, the extremely dense yin energy increased drastically. This increase was terrifying. In this instant, all of the withered vegetation exploded into dust. Crackling sounds could be heard and ice appeared around the walls of the valley. A heavenly yin energy came out from his body and a vortex formed above his head. This vortex was formed by yin energy, and it grew larger as it rotated. The yin energy roared. Wang Lin's eyes were like lightning as he silently looked at Bai Wei. The vortex rotated faster and faster until it formed a storm. The entire valley was covered in ice. Even the withered vegetation was all frozen. Although the restriction at the mouth of the valley was subtle, now it shattered. If you looked at the valley from outside, you could see the rain falling now. Lightning would occasionally strike down as if the heavens were angry, causing thunderous rumbles. Large amounts of water poured down and gathered into puddles. As the rain continued to fall, endless ripples appeared in the puddles. However, in this rainstorm, this valley seemed to be cut off from the outside. It was as if there was an invisible cover blocking out all the rain. The rain was stopped outside the valley and flowed down along this cover. As the rain became stronger and stronger, you could vaguely see an arc of ghostly light above the valley. This ghostly light was the rain making the barrier around the valley visible. At this moment, as the yin energy inside valley became stronger and stronger, not even the cover was able to withstand it anymore. A crack opened up in this cover. The moment this crack appeared, yin energy came out. Although it was invisible, it caused a series of heaven-shaking crackling sounds. Before the rain could fall into the crack that appeared on the cover, it was turned into ice by the yin energy. As the yin energy rose up into the sky, an extremely strange scene unfolded. Wherever the yin energy passed through, all the raindrops were frozen. From a distance, it looked like a string of pearls that shined brightly whenever lightning flashed across the sky. This didn't end here. More and more cracks appeared on the cover. Every crack that appeared allowed more yin energy to escape. As the yin energy rushed out, even more rain got turned to ice. A moment later, the cover shattered into pieces. When the cover shattered, large amounts of yin energy spread out across the land. At this instant, every raindrop around them turned into ice with the valley as the center. In just a few breaths of time, all of the raindrops had turned to ice. Wang Lin's eyes released a strange light. This yin energy was very powerful. Even with his ancient god body, he found it a bit unbearable and couldn't help but retreat a few steps. Sitting before Wang Lin, Bai Wei's hair moved without any wind. His clothes gave off flapping sounds as if it was being hit by wind. The yin energy in his body reached a peak and his body was rapidly covered by dark blue ice. In the blink of an eye, the dark blue ice covered him completely. Then it condensed between his eyebrows, transformed into thorns, and pointed between his eyebrows. A strange mark appeared between Bai Wei's eyebrows. This mark was the same one that Wang Lin saw that was formed by the movement of yin energy inside Bai Wei. At this moment, this mark flashed a ghostly light. Every time it flashed, Bai Wei would reveal a painful expression and some of the yin energy in his body would be sucked in by it. Every time it flashed, the dark blue ice around Bai Wei became thicker. His body slowly assimilated with the ice until they became a part of each other. As the mark flashed more and more, even more yin energy was absorbed into it. Soon, the last bit of yin energy was absorbed by the mark. His body trembled and everything from his neck and below became ice. The mark between his eyebrows had turned blackish purple, and the yin energy within it was shocking. The indescribable pain made Bai Wei let out the last roar in his life. This roar was filled with his dissatisfaction, his hatred for the All-Seer, his sadness and helplessness, and all of his struggles against fate. Also there was also a glimmer of relief. Wang Lin seemed to be impacted by this roar. His expression became complex and he took a few more steps back. He could understand Bai Wei's thoughts. It was a sworn defiance, a rebellion against the All-Seer. It could be said that this was a type of defiance. Bai Wei's roar spread like crazy across tens of thousands of kilometers. However, his roar was drowned out by the heavy rain and violent thunder. All-Seer, I exchange my life for you to be wrong once. I, Bai Wei, will laugh in the underworld. I'm willing to trade this worthless life of mine to make the All-Seer wrong once. As Bai Wei laughed like crazy, the mark that contained all his yin energy went through a strange change. The endless yin energy was condensed repeatedly as the vortex rotated, and a thunderous roar came from within it. In an instant, the vortex formed by the mark reached an extreme, and a golden light appeared in the depths of the vortex. All the yin energy gathered toward it like crazy. In an instant, all of the yin energy disappeared, leaving being a shining, golden dot that floated toward Wang Lin. Bai Wei's body was motionless. He had almost lost all of life force and turned into an ice sculpture with a ferocious expression, an eternal ice sculpture. This ice sculpture gave off a powerful aura of defiance and unwillingness to be controlled by fate. The golden dot floated toward Wang Lin. He could feel a powerful vitality and extreme heat from this dot. A sliver of extreme yang. Wang Lin raised his right hand and reached toward this golden dot. At this moment, all of the ice inside the valley melted rapidly, and soon it was all melted. Green grass quickly regrew and soon this valley was in spring. Outside the valley, all of the raindrops that were frozen melted and quickly fell. All of the changes that were caused by the yin energy returned to normal. The moment Wang Lin's hand touched the extreme yang, time was up. There was a mountain in the heavenly fate sect that was very strange. It looked like a giant trident that was buried underground, and the only thing that remained above ground were the 3-tip rings of 7 different colors gave off bursts of light. The celestial spiritual energy that filled the area made it look like the celestial realm. The All-Seer was sitting at the tip of the middle mountain peak. He wore white and his white hair moved with the wind. Although he was old, it didn't feel like he was decaying. Instead, it was as if he had become a celestial. The moment the time was up, he opened his eyes. The moment he opened his eyes, there were large amounts of clouds passing by. What was even more shocking was that the sun and moon reversed in his eyes while the clouds rapidly changed. It was as if time itself existed within the All-Seer's eyes. He calmly looked at the earth. After a long time, he let out a sigh. Everyone pursues longevity, to live as long as the world. However, how many people know what this longevity counts as? To live as long as the world. The world has always existed, so who would dare to say they were as old as the world? What they pursue is only an illusion, and this is the vision of an ant. I, All-Seer, don't seek to live as long as the world. I want my fate to become the heavens' fate. I want my will to become the heavens' will. I want the heavens' Tao to merge with my Tao. The All-Seer's gaze fell into the direction of the distant Ghost Eye City. There was strange light in his eyes and he muttered, "Wang Lin, you dare." He didn't move, he only raised his right hand. His index finger casually pointed forward. At this instant, a storm was set off just outside of planet Tianyun. There was a loud rumble and endless origin energy of the world gathered. All of the origin energy from within tens of thousands of kilometers seemed to have received a call and gathered like crazy. In almost an instant, a giant finger appeared outside planet Tianyun. This finger was 10,000 feet long and 1,000 feet wide. It was transparent, as if it was an ethereal existence. Endless origin energy gathered at the finger at an unimaginable speed. It was so fast, it was beyond imagination. It was as if this finger was an endless black hole that sucked in all the origin energy. In an instant, this finger went from ethereal to almost solid, even the fingerprint was clearly visible. The marks on the finger were like mountains and gorges. It slowly descended toward planet Tianyun. This finger was too big, but it wasn't the finger of an ancient god. It was a spell the All-Seer had created on his own. One finger to pierce the heavenly fate. The All-Seer was a member of the Alliance's elder group, so he naturally knew powerful spells. It has to be said that back when the All-Seer was at his peak, Even esteemed Xian Bao was extremely fearful of him and didn't dare to carelessly offend the All-Seer. Although the All-Seer wasn't the most powerful in the Alliance's elder group, even the stronger members of the group didn't want to get on the All-Seer's bad side. All of this indirectly explains how powerful the All-Seer was. However, the All-Seer was very low-key and not many outsiders knew of him. At this moment, the finger that formed outside planet Tian Yun slowly pressed down on the planet. Although it looked slow, it was extremely fast. A heaven-shaking pressure roared across the sky. The cultivators on planet Tian Yun felt a terrifying majesty descend the world. Because there was too much origin energy gathered before the finger, an arc appeared before the finger, and it touched planet Tian Yun first. The entire planet seemed to shake and a huge wave was set off in the atmosphere as if there was powerful force moving within it. This origin energy arrived before the finger. It even caused some of the planet to collapse and everything to become twisted. A thunderous rumble echoed across the world when the finger landed on the atmosphere. The atmosphere immediately collapsed and seven-colored light spread across the area. A crack was opened by force by the finger. This crack was still expanding, and it caused the weather to suddenly change. Looking from the ground up at the sky, it was as if the finger had pierced a hole in the heavens and slowly descended. It was pointed at the valley thousands of kilometers outside Ghost Eye City. Before the finger fell, an unimaginable pressure descended and the earth crackled. The expressions of all the cultivators who thought they had achieved something changed, and none of them dared to fly over to look. When the powerful pressure spread out, their minds trembled. A feeling that the heavens and earth would be destroyed arose from the bottom of their hearts. Originally, rain covered the sky above Ghost Eye City and the thunder rumbles echoed endlessly. However, at this moment, as the giant finger descended, all the clouds were pushed away. It was like a curtain at the doorway that was pulled apart. Even the might of the heavens seemed to have to make way for the point of this finger. A thick, dark cloud didn't dodge fast enough and was touched by the ripples before the finger. It exploded in an instant and brightened up the sky with a large amount of lightning. These lightning bolts moved along with these ripples and diffused across the sky. They formed a very bright and unforgettably gorgeous scene in everyone's eyes. Violent thunder echoed across the sky. As the giant finger descended, it was as if the sky was going to collapse. Wang Lin stood inside the valley and looked at the finger slowly descending from the sky with a gloomy expression. He could clearly feel the aura coming from the finger. It was the All-Seer. What kind of spell is this? Wang Lin held the extreme yang in his hand. The moment it fell into his hand, he felt the heaven-defying bead inside his origin soul tremble. With no time to think about the change to the heaven-defying bead, Wang Lin put the extreme yang into his bag and then stared at the giant finger descending from the sky. This finger was too big. It gave off a seven-colored glow and caused the heavens and earth to tremble endlessly. Cracks appeared in space as it descended toward Wang Lin. An unimaginable pressure descended from the sky and gathered around Wang Lin. The All-Seer. Wang Lin frowned with a gloomy expression. Then his right hand touched his bag and an item appeared in his hand. This was something Qing Shui gave him, a crystal to use summon the rain. Back then, Qing Shui said that there were 3 uses of summon the rain sealed inside. The summon the rain cast by Qing Shui would not be ordinary. Wang Lin had not used it yet, so he could keep it as an ace to keep himself alive. However, this was the time to use it. The giant finger slowly descended and charged toward Wang Lin. A loud rumble echoed, and the pressure from its descent caused the earth to shatter once more. Even Ghost Eye City was affected. Large sections of its walls fell and cries came from the city. At this moment, there was a planet far away from planet Tianyun, but it was still within the influence of planet Tianyu. It was a cultivation planet called Da Lu. There was only one sect on this planet, and this sect was called the Da Lu Sword Sect. The Da Lu Sword Sect occupied a large part of the planet and covered hundreds of thousands of kilometers. It was far larger than the Heavenly Fate Sect. Ling Tianhu was willing to pay the price when setting up the Da Lu Sword Sect, so its scale was extremely large. Mountains filled with spiritual energy were everywhere in the Da Lu Sword Sect. There were numerous pavilions and there were monumental towers at every certain amount of distance. There were a total of 999 towers. It was as if they were set up to form a giant formation. There was a tower among them that was very unique in both appearance and height. This tower was extremely tall, at least 10 times the height of the other towers. Its height seemed to pierce into the sky. Even if you were very far, you could still feel the colossal pressure of this tower. At the top of this tower sat the sword Saint Ling Tianhu. The 4 origin swords flashed as they formed a mouth and rotated around him. Fierce sword intent spread out from the tower, causing planet Da Lu to be filled with shocking sword intent. Interesting. Interesting. Ling Tianhu suddenly opened his eyes, and there was a flash of coldness within them. There was a smile on his face. How many times has the teacher betrayed the student? This old man loves watching these moments of the All-Seer the most. However, this Wang Lin is a member of the Vermilion Bird series. Even the elders of the Alliance have to ponder when acting against a member of the Vermilion Bird series. After all, no one is willing to provoke the former overlord of the brilliant Void Star system, the 4 Divine Sec. Forget it. Wang Lin, if you can withstand one spell from and not die, this old man will help you. Ling Tianhu smiled. His favorite thing to do was cause trouble for the All-Seer. As the finger fell, the earth caved in and collapsed. The center of the collapse was the valley Wang Lin was in. Thunder rumbles echoed and large cracks appeared within the valley. The cracks continued to extend until the valley was split into pieces. Even more cracks appeared, and in just an instant, the valley collapsed. Countless shattered stones exploded into dust due to the pressure. As a result, Wang Lin's surroundings became a flattened ruin. The dust from the collapsed valley couldn't even fly up due to the pressure from the descending finger. It was pushed away with Wang Lin as the center. This dust moved like a python that was being held down. At this moment, 7 people flew out from the Ghost Eye City, including the Chen brothers. Shock filled their eyes and their minds trembled when they saw the giant finger. The 7-colored light that came from the finger lit up the night. The 7 didn't hesitate and arrived at 7 different locations in Ghost Eye City. As they roared, a pillar of light shot out from the center of the city. There was a loud rumble and the city actually flew into the sky. It lifted into the air like a disc and flew south. However, under the pressure of the giant finger, it was slowed down and large amount of cracks appeared all over the city. Ghost Eye City struggled to escape. The few old monsters of Ghost Eye City felt depressed to be caught in such a calamity without reason, but none of them dared to say anything. Everyone could see that the giant finger belonged to the real ruler of planet Tianyun, the All-Seer. The All-Seer wants to kill Wang Lin? The Chen brothers looked at each other but didn't speak. However, there was dread in their eyes. After pondering a bit, Master Yi Chen clenched his teeth and charged off toward the giant finger. The 7-colored light covered the sky. Even if you were far away, you could clearly see it. After all, this finger was simply too big. Master Yi Chen didn't go to help Wang Lin but to witness the battle between a Nirvana Shatterer and Nirvana Cleanser Cultivator. If he missed this due to a moment of timidness, he would regret it for the rest of his life. There was another person who had the same thought, a black-robed youth. Although he looked young, he gave off an ancient aura and charged forward. As for everyone else, they didn't have the gut. As Master Yi Chen moved forward, he perceived the youth in black. He was shocked and thought, the city lord of Ghost Eye City has gut. Wang Lin opened his arms and stood at the center of the valley. Bai Wei's body, which was wrapped in the ice crystal, was not far away. Although he had already died, his body wasn't damaged at all by the All-Seer's spell. The Summon the Rain crystal floated before Wang Lin and gave off a gentle glow. There was also a vortex of water vapor that seemed to rotate around the crystal. Wang Lin raised his head and looked at the finger that was getting larger and closer until he could clearly see the fingerprint on it. When the finger crashed down from the sky as if it was crushing an ant, a shocking coldness appeared in Wang Lin's eyes and he shouted, "Summon the rain." The moment Wang Lin said "Summon the rain," an illusion appeared behind Wang Lin. Although it was impossible to see the appearance of this illusion, given its cold demeanor, it was not difficult to recognize it as Qing Shui. This was a phantom Qing Shui left inside the crystal. Qing Shui's phantom raised his right hand and formed a seal. Then he pointed at the crystal before Wang Lin. The crystal shook and rotated rapidly before a brilliant light shot out toward the giant finger descending toward Wang Lin. When it closed in on the finger, the crystal released a burst of unimaginable light. This light was very strong, and if a mortal looked at it, their eyes would fester and they would die. Even if a cultivator saw it, their eyes would sting. If their cultivation was lacking, their body would directly dissipate. Even with Wang Lin's ancient god body, his eyes felt pain when looking at the light. Luckily, it disappeared in a flash. However, Master Yi Chen, who was watching in the distance, wasn't so lucky. He only felt pain in his eyes, and it immediately felt like countless silver needles were penetrating him. Terrified, he quickly cycled the origin energy inside his body and only recovered after a while. As for Ghost Eye City's lord, the young man in black, his cultivation level was inferior to Master Yi Chen's, only at peak corporeal yang. He let out a miserable groan and quickly retreated with his eyes closed. Tears came out of his eyes, but he didn't panic. Instead, he slapped his bag of holding and a large amount of pill bottles appeared. He swallowed them and then closed his eyes to cultivate. But his divine sense still spread out to carefully observe this battle. The moment the crystal shined brightly, it rapidly shrank. In an instant, more than 30% of it disappeared. The 30% of the crystal that disappeared formed into a drop of rain and fell. The instant it dropped, the drop of rain continued to spread. In an instant, there were countless raindrops before Wang Lin. Qing Shui's phantom waved his sleeves and then the countless raindrops whistled before they charged at the giant finger. Large amounts of origin energy gathered like crazy and entered each raindrop. A heaven-shaking explosions echoed across planet Tian Yun as the endless raindrops collided with the finger descending from the sky. Bang, 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 bang. The endless rumbles echoed across the sky. The giant finger actually paused for a moment under Qing Shui's spell. However, seven-colored light shined brightly as the raindrops hit the finger and collapsed. The finger only paused for a moment before pressing down even faster. It was as if everything that got in its path would be mercilessly destroyed. The countless raindrops all collapsed and the finger suddenly touched the summon the rain crystal. Just at this instant, Wang Lin's hand formed a seal and he pointed at the crystal while shouting, "Summon the rain." The crystal exploded, and the moment it shattered, the phantom of Qing Shui behind Wang Lin stepped out. Its speed was very fast, leaving behind an afterimage. It entered the crystal the moment it shattered and turned into more raindrops that gathered at the finger. This time it wasn't the countless raindrops that collided, all of them condensed into one drop of rain. This raindrop released a red glow and a hint of G-realm. It directly collided with the All-Seer's spell. The moment they collided, the red raindrop released a fierce aura and unexpectedly formed a vortex. The rotating vortex collided with the seven-colored ripples outside the finger. The seven-colored ripples immediately collapsed but then turned into seven different colored dragons that circled the finger and roared like crazy. After breaking the seven-color ripples, the red raindrop directly touched the finger the All-Seer sent. Rumble, 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 rumble. This giant finger didn't pause and descended from the sky toward Wang Lin as if it wanted to crush an ant. However, there was a small, red dot in the center of the giant finger. It went deeper and constantly destroyed everything in its path. Then it suddenly collapsed and set off a storm inside the finger. As the finger pressed down, Wang Lin became gloomy. He felt like the sky was collapsing, but there was a flash of coldness in his eyes. The All-Seer didn't even ask me for the extreme yang. There is more to this. Wang Lin let out a sigh, but his battle intent didn't diminish. His eyes lit up as he slapped his bag of holding and a hand-sized fragment appeared in his grasp. This fragment was gifted to Wang Lin by Master Flamespark after Wang Lin achieved great merit for all heaven. As the giant finger descended, a powerful gust of wind appeared as if it wanted to extinguish Wang Lin's life. The land around Wang Lin collapsed once more. The area around him had already caved in, and now it caved in even more. Under the thunderous rumbles, Wang Lin's body sank into the ground. His eyes were unyielding as he roared and his right hand formed a seal. The celestial realm fragment flew into the air and grew until it unexpectedly became a continent. At a glance, this continent seemed to extend forever. It was like a thick shield that separated Wang Lin from the giant finger. The finger instantly pressed down on the celestial realm fragment. A loud rumble spread across planet Tianyun, setting off a shockwave on the Earth. It looked as if an Earth dragon was moving underground. Large amounts of cracks appeared on the celestial realm fragment. However, the celestial realm fragment didn't collapse. The finger lifted, and just as it was about to press down again, the power inside the summon the rain crystal suddenly exploded. Strands of light shot out, and it was extremely shocking. The giant finger was pierced by the red lights. It was riddled with holes, causing the vast origin energy inside it to rapidly dissipate. As the finger rose, the number of red lights increased. The giant finger trembled and seemed like it was about to collapse. Just at this instant, Wang Lin's body entered the celestial realm fragment and appeared above it. His eyes were extremely cold as his right hand formed a fist and he threw a punch. Wang Lin had waited and prepared for a long time for this punch. The origin energy inside his body fused with the power of the ancient god when he swung his fist. As the punch flew out, it was as if the world had changed colors. From afar, Wang Lin's fist was too different from the giant finger. However, this punch created a storm that turned into an angry dragon that let out roar and charged at the collapsing finger. At this instant, Wang Lin's right fist and collided with that finger. There was a loud explosion, and Wang Lin's body was knocked back and he retreated several steps on the celestial realm fragment. With every step he took, he left a footprint, and there were popping sounds coming from his body. Looking back at the giant finger, even more red lights shot out until it was covered by them. Wang Lin's punch had caused the tip to collapse, and the finger began its final stage of collapsing. After several steps, Wang Lin mercilessly kicked off with his right foot and charged at the finger. Rumble, 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 rumble. Wang Lin threw 4 punches in a row. The power of the ancient god shot out of his body and landed on the finger. After a moment, the finger completely disintegrated with a bang and scattered into strands of origin energy. It kicked up a lot of dust and created sandstorms as it scattered. In the Heavenly Fate sect, above the peak with the 7 colored rings, the All-Seer's eyes revealed a strange light and he muttered, "I didn't expect this child to have such a treasure." Then he raised his right hand and waved it. A gust of wind appeared and then was covered by the 7-colored light. It instantly turned into a 7-colored wind dragon that let out a roar and charged into the sky. This 7-colored wind dragon was 1,000 feet long, and as it moved, it set off a huge storm. It kicked up a lot of dust as it moved, and even the clouds made way for it. It was too fast, and in almost an instant, it closed in on Wang Lin. Wang Lin's expression became even more gloomy as he stared at the 7-colored dragon. This dragon was formed purely by wind and was too fast. It also gave off a powerful aura, as if it was ready to devour. This dragon isn't simply a dragon, it contains the spirit of a real dragon. Wang Lin's eyes became cold. All-Seer. What the hell is he thinking? Did he really make an error in his divination about the extreme yang? Wang Lin let out a sigh. He had met countless people in his life, but the All-Seer was the only one he couldn't get any grasp on. It was the same hundreds of years ago, and hundreds of years later it was still the same. While it seemed like his own deduction, it was all part of the All-Seer's plan. At this moment, Wang Lin was gloomy and became even more weary. The All-Seer. All-Seer. If I don't take the extreme yang, there will be a shadow in my Tao heart. However, now that I took the extreme yang, it feels like I fell into the All-Seer's plans. This was a double-layered scheme, and I would have fallen into it whether I took it or not. What exactly is the All-Seer's goal? Is it just to create an opening in my Tao heart to place the shadow in my Tao heart that he is never wrong? I'm afraid that Bai Wei thought that his sudden idea would make the All-Seer make a mistake. He didn't think that Master had foreseen this sudden idea of his. No matter if this extreme yang is in my hands or handed back to the All-Seer, a flaw will appear in my Tao heart. A shadow of him never being wrong will appear in my Tao heart no matter what I do. How exactly do I break this trap? As Wang Lin stared at the rapidly approaching wind dragon, hundreds of ideas flew through his mind. If I throw away this extreme yang, it won't matter. Even if I don't step into this trap, I'll still be walking into it. It won't change anything. Throwing it away is merely fooling myself. No matter what happens, I can't return it to the All-Seer. If I do, it means I lost this confrontation, I thoroughly failed. If I was going to return it to him, then why even accept it? Alas. However, if I didn't accept it, I would have still fallen into the All-Seer's trap. It seems everything was set up to trap me in this deadlock. The All-Seer must have a deeper reason for all of this. Maybe it is just the first step of his plan for me. Just like the day of extreme yang for Bai Wei, this is just the primer. I don't know what the All-Seer's goal is, but if I want to resist, I must make him calculate wrongly once. Just once, and an opening will appear in the perfect All-Seer. Only then can I break this trap and find a way to live. Wang Lin looked at the sky as the wind dragon rushed toward him. The roar of the dragon entered his ears. Break the trap. To make the All-Seer truly calculate wrongly once. Wang Lin felt as if his head was going to burst open as various thoughts flashed through his head. The roar of the wind dragon was getting closer and closer. At this moment, 7-colored light shrouded the sky and the wind dragon descended to devour Wang Lin. There was a flash of coldness in Wang Lin's eyes. If the wind dragon was a pure spell, he wouldn't be able to resist it, but it contained the spirit of a dragon. Wang Lin could never forget how the crown had captured that golden-robed true dragon in the void. His right hand was placed over his bag and Wang Lin was about to take out the crown. However, at this moment, a laugh came from far away and a sea of flames appeared in the distance. A scarlet-red Cheline appeared within the flame. This Cheline was extremely fierce and its eyes shined. On its back sat a skinny old man. It was Sword Saint Ling Tianhu. The 4 origin swords circled Ling Tianhu. The fierce sword energy they released could pierce the heavens. The Cheline's fierce gaze swept by and didn't even look at Wang Lin, it stared at the wind dragon covered in the 7-colored light. If not for Ling Tianhu, it would have already charged up and fought with the wind dragon. Ling Tianhu jumped off the Cheline and smiled at the sky. All-Seer, what a coincidence. I just happened to pass by, but I didn't think I'd see you punishing your disciple again. He let the Cheline go, and it suddenly let out a roar that set off the sea of flames before it charged at the wind dragon. The wind dragon and the Cheline were suddenly entangled in a fight. This happened too suddenly. Wang Lin's eyes lit up as retreated a few steps, and he clasped his hands at Ling Tianhu. Greetings, Senior Sword Saint. Ling Tianhu looked meaningfully at Wang Lin. Admiration filled his eyes and he said, your cultivation had to be very good to be able to block the All-Seer's finger that can change the heavenly fate. Part 244. The 7-colored wind dragon and the Cheline fought with each other, causing endless rumbles that echoed across the world. The 7-colored wind dragon let out bursts of roars. The Cheline was even more fierce as it was surrounded by a sea of flames. These flames spread out, and not only did the wind not extinguish the flames, it made them even stronger. However, the 7-colored wind dragon was made of wind, so it was not corporeal. Even if its body collapsed, it would immediately reform. It possessed an indestructible dragon body. As a result, the two beasts were very equal. The powerful impacts they created were no weaker than that of 2 powerful cultivators fighting. Wang Lin stood on the celestial fragment. With a point of his foot, it shrank and started circling around him as protection. In response to Ling Tianhu's words, Wang Lin calmly said, "Thank you, Senior, for your praise. I'm confused about today's matter as well. I don't know what I did to offend Master to make him cast a spell to kill me right here." Ling Tianhu laughed and said, "This old man has seen such things happen many times. Back then, that." Without waiting for Ling Tianhu to finish speaking, an ancient voice echoed across the world. "Ling Tianhu, you speak too much. I can endure anything you do, but you can't interfere with matters of my heavenly fate sect without reason. If you don't leave within 3 breaths of time, don't blame this old man for personally forcing you to leave." Ling Tianhu rolled his eyes, let out a cold snort, and shouted, "All-Seer, do you think I, the Sword Saint, am afraid of you? If you want to fight, let's fight. I want to see how much stronger you have become." Wang Lin carefully listened to their conversion. Although there was no trace of the All-Seer, with his abilities, it would only take an instant for him to arrive. Wang Lin had always been confused about a matter. Back then, he was too weak to think about it too much, but how he was also considered a powerful cultivator. How could he not see the difference between Ling Tianhu and the All-Seer? Ling Tianhu was much stronger than Blood Ancestor, but compared to Master Flamespark, Qing Shui, and the others, he was far weaker. It wouldn't be inappropriate to say that the difference between him and the All-Seer was like heaven and earth. However, Ling Tianhu had dared to oppose the All-Seer for tens of thousands of years. Wang Lin was very confused about this matter. Listening to the All-Seer's tone, it seemed he had been enduring Ling Tianhu repeatedly. What kind of secret is there between the two of them? Wang Lin remained silent and carefully observed. You didn't abide to the agreement. The All-Seer's voice slowly appeared. Although there was no sign of joy or anger, the moment the voice appeared, the bright sky suddenly dimmed. The sun that gradually rose from the east seemed to be completely covered by a powerful spell. In an instant, the world became dark. Ling Tianhu's expression became serious as he waved his big sleeves and the origin swords behind him stabbed into the void, releasing a monstrous sword energy. So what if I don't abide to the agreement? All-Seer, even if you let the grey robe out, do you think I'll be afraid of you? Ling Tianhu let out a cold snort, then his right hand formed a seal and pointed at the sword energy. This sword energy suddenly collapsed and diffused across the world. Under these rays of sword energy, the world was lit up once more. This caused the area before Wang Lin look like twilight. A grey robe appeared on the horizon. This shadow gave off a sense of loneliness but also a trace of arrogance. He slowly walked step by step toward Ling Tianhu. When Wang Lin saw this grey shadow, his mind trembled. He recognized that this grey robe wasn't anyone else but the grey-robed All-Seer who taught him the celestial slaughter art. The grey-robed All-Seer's eyes were cold and there was a sense of lonely arrogance in them. Before he arrived, he raised his right hand and grasped at the void. The endless darkness seemed to move and gather toward his hand. This scene was extremely strange. Darkness was not like mist that could move, it was merely a natural existence due to the lack of light. How could this darkness gather? However, right now Wang Lin clearly saw this darkness move and gather. The ability to absorb light. Shock filled Wang Lin's eyes. Endless darkness gathered in the grey-robed All-Seer's hand and turned into a black sword that was only 1 finger wide. The grey-robed All-Seer didn't waste time talking to Ting Tianhu and directly waved the sword. At this instant, a monstrous slaughter energy gathered in the world. It wasn't 1 strand of slaughter energy, but 10 strands. 10 strands of real celestial slaughter energy. It was not the same incomplete slaughter energy Wang Lin formed by practicing the celestial slaughter art. This was a true strand of slaughter energy formed when the flesh and origin soul of a cultivator who cultivated more than 1 million strands of slaughter energy was refined. This was a real strand of slaughter energy. Wang Lin's expression was extremely gloomy as he stared at the grey-robed All-Seer and the 10 strands of slaughter energy. He couldn't help but think that if not for the fact that he had realized it early, he would have become another strand of slaughter energy for the grey-robed All-Seer. Just as he thought of this, Wang Lin's body trembled as if a ray of lightning had flashed through his mind. His eyes shined brightly as if he had realized something. Wait. It isn't that the All-Seer has never been wrong before. There was a profound meaning behind when he taught me the celestial slaughter art. That was the first sign of him doing something similar to what he did to Bai Wei to me. The All-Seer in the past was the perfect existence that could never be wrong. However, in the demon spirit land, due to the help of the ancient demon, I was able to find the flaw of the celestial slaughter art. With the help of the ancient demon, it caused a slight deviation to the All-Seer's plan. Then the scattered devil appeared and once more disrupted his plan. In the end, I was able to see through the karma of the celestial slaughter art and decisively gave up the powerful slaughter energy. That was the first time the All-Seer was wrong when scheming against me. Wang Lin's eyes lit up and he felt enlightened as he stared at the grey-robed All-Seer. Although this sounds slow, it all ran through his mind in a flash. The All-Seer has already been wrong once while scheming against me, which is why although he foresaw the date of my return, he couldn't calculate my actual cultivation level. Wang Lin's eyes were extremely cold. He took a deep breath and clarity filled his eyes. Although that mistake wasn't big, it could be considered a mistake for the All-Seer. The current all-seer is no longer a perfect person that can't be wrong. This deadlock isn't impossible to break. Since he was wrong once, he could be wrong a second time. Wang Lin's eyes became cold. This grey-robed all-seer's expression was still calm, almost indifferent. There were 10 strands of slaughter energy moving at an extreme speed toward Ling Tianhu. Ling Tianhu let out a cold snort, lifted his hand and shouted, "Sacrifice, whole, break. Break second style," the blade on the boy's back. His right hand rose up and pointed at the sky. Then the 4 origin swords behind his body rapidly rotated and fused into one. In an instant, the 4 origin swords fused into one and emitted a hard glow. A 7 or 8-year-old boy unexpectedly walked out from this sword energy with a large, purple sword on his back. The shape of the sword was extremely strange. It was curved like a snake. Powerful celestial spiritual energy was emitted by this sword and vaguely formed the shape of a dragon. The moment Wang Lin saw this curved sword, his eyes lit up. Rain Celestial Sword. Wang Lin looked at the serpentine sword and immediately recognized it as the Rain Celestial Sword. The Rain Celestial Sword was divided into 4 swords, and 2 of them were stolen. This serpentine Rain Celestial Sword was the one Ling Tianhu took. That boy stepped out and met the grey-robed all-seer. Ling Tianhu formed a seal and pointed. The boy suddenly opened his eyes and an oppressive gaze was revealed. As the boy's body moved, the serpentine Rain Celestial Sword flew out at the 10 strands of slaughter energy that the all-seer sent out. In an instant, the serpentine Rain Celestial Sword glowed brightly and a giant python appeared. It let out a roar while releasing its fishy breath, and a powerful wind swept forward. The grey-robed all-seer's expression was still indifferent while the 10 strands of slaughter energy collided with the storm the python spat out. As they collided, the 10 strands of slaughter energy underwent an unexpected change that made Wang Lin's expression change. There was a flash of black light and the 10 strands of slaughter energy turned into 10 figures. There were men and women, young and old, but without exception, they each had a ferocious gaze. They were filled with monstrous killing intent and their eyes were bloodshot as they charged at the storm. In addition, countless strands of slaughter energy rushed out. Each of the 10 figures releases at least 1 million strands of slaughter energy. As a result, the number of slaughter energy in the air had reached a shocking amount. From a distance, it was as if even the sky was completely covered. No matter where one looked, there was slaughter energy. Strands of slaughter energy whistled. At this moment, all auras and sounds were forcibly expelled. The only things that remained were the whistling sounds of the slaughter energy and the shock they emitted. Wang Lin's face turned slightly pale. His eyes lit up and his right foot took a step back. He understood the slaughter energy too well. The power of these countless strands of slaughter energy was extremely shocking. As the slaughter energy spread out, some came at Wang Lin. The celestial realm fragment rotated even faster around Wang Lin, almost forming a vortex, to completely protect him. Wang Lin continued to retreat as sounds of slamming echo in his ear. Every sound was a strand of slaughter energy smashing into the celestial realm fragment. So many strands of slaughter energy, but this grey-robed all-seer is obviously not going all out. Wang Lin's eyes lit up. He had been thinking about how to break this trap. When I absorbed that sliver of extreme yang, the heaven-defying bead trembled. Wang Lin's eyes shined while hundreds and thousands of ideas flashed through his mind. After the heaven-defying bead had completed the 5 elements, the metal, wood, water, fire, and earth symbols disappeared and were replaced by yin and yang. At this moment, it was as if Wang Lin had gained enlightenment. That's right. What the heaven-defying bead needs is yin and yang. This extreme yang suits the needs of the heaven-defying bead. Wang Lin had thought about how to meet the yin and yang needs of the heaven-defying bead after the 5 elements were completed. However, no matter how hard he tried, there was no change to the sun and moon marks on the heaven-defying bead. No matter how godly the all-seer's ability may seem, he can't foresee the fact that I have the heaven-defying bead, much less that I can use it to absorb this extreme yang. Therefore, he will have calculated wrongly and I can break this scheme. Wang Lin's eyes were cold as he stared at the grey-robed all-seer. The more he thought, the more feasible it seemed. As for the chance of the heaven-defying bead being found, ever since I obtained it, not even that mysterious third-step cultivator from all heaven could detect the heaven-defying bead. I don't believe that the All-Seer can detect it. As for Ling Tianhu, his expression was gloomy. The reason he came here wasn't to help Wang Lin, he just liked to rouse trouble in everything the All-Seer did. In addition, with his understanding of the All-Seer, he vaguely guessed Wang Lin's importance. The more the All-Seer place importance in this, the more interested he was in messing it up. Do you think I'm afraid of you? Ling Tianhu sneered as his right hand formed a seal. He pointed and shouted, "Break third style, sword boy spirit sacrifice." After he spoke, a burst of sword energy came from the boy surrounded by endless slaughter energy. He stepped forward and landed on the python formed by the serpentine celestial sword. The moment his feet landed, the boy's head jerked up and he let out a shrill. This shrill became a sharp sword that penetrated into the slaughter energy. The moment the boy screamed, his body collapsed into green mist and quickly entered the celestial sword. Sword sacrifice. The serpentine celestial sword trembled as if it had absorbed the sacrifice of the boy. A sword hymn that could penetrate the high heavens appeared and smashed toward the slaughter energy with an unimaginable force. Rumble, rumble. A series of heaven-shaking rumbles echoed and large storms swept the area. As the constant impact continued, strands of slaughter energy dissipated under the sword energy. At this moment, the world was shrouded in sword energy. A vortex of sword energy formed from all the sword energy around Ling Tianhu. The sound of the sword energy replaced all the sounds in the world. The grey-robed All-Seer was indifferent as he looked at all this sword energy. He calmly looked at Ling Tianhu. He raised his right hand, and coldly said, "Your sword energy has increased. If you can take this old man's next attack, I won't interfere in the battle between you and that All-Seer." With that, his right hand formed a seal and pointed at Ling Tianhu. When he pointed, the entire sky turned black, as if a giant had scattered ink on it. The darkness churned and the entire world became black. "Since you became a saint through swords, then I'll fight you with a sword. Slaughter, turn to sword." The grey-robed All-Seer's voice was flat, but the moment his finger landed, the countless slaughter energy strands gathered toward him like crazy. Those strands of slaughter energy were each a life. The millions of slaughter energy gathered, and this scene made Wang Lin gasp. Those slaughter energy strands around him gave up their pursuit and retreated. They gathered toward where the grey-robed All-Seer was pointing. In just an instant, as strands of slaughter energy fused, a 7-inch long and 3-inch wide red longsword appeared before the grey-robed All-Seer. The sword gave off strands of smoke. The grey-robed All-Seer casually waved his hand and the sword let out a heaven-shaking sword hymn. The sword turned into a red line and shot toward Ling Tianhu's serpentine celestial sword. The two swords moved faster and faster, and the sonic boom caused by the two swords spread across the entire planet. In an instant, the two swords collided. These two swords didn't really touch. They were 7 inches away from each other. Bursts of thunderous rumbles came from this 7-inch space, and countless rays of sword energy collided. Large amounts lightning scattered in all directions. A large amount of power was concentrated in this 7-inch space. The grey-robed All-Seer nodded and slowly said, "Not bad, your cultivation has increased quite a bit. However, if this is all you got today, you will be kicked off planet Tianyun by me." Ling Tianhu sneered as he waved his sleeve and his arms opened up. He shouted, "I, Ling Tianhu, only cultivate the Tao of Sword. In recent years, I gained enlightenment in the law of swords. Greyrobe, I don't know why you're willing to be manipulated by him, but for you to appear here means you gave up on our friendship from back then." The grey-robed All-Seer pondered but didn't speak. Ling Tianhu took a deep breath and waved his hands. A crack appeared between his eyebrows and a ray of black light came out. After the black light came out, it immediately surrounded Ling Tianhu. Shortly after, it was impossible to see Ling Tianhu's figure. "I use my origin soul to refine a sword spirit. I use my flesh and blood to refine a sword. I am the sword and the sword is me." Ling Tianhu's voice came out from the black light in an extremely strange tone. At this instant, the black light became intense, and Ling Tianhu sat down inside it. The crack between his eyebrows opened and closed in a strange way. His eyes revealed a demonic light, then they slowly closed. The moment his eyes closed, his body trembled and a shadow flew out from his forehead. This shadow was a sword formed by Ling Tianho's origin soul that was refined by him all his life. The moment this sword appeared, worship-like sword hymns came from all over planet Tian Yun. All the swords on planet Tian Yun began to tremble. The shadow flickered and pierced through the black light, going toward the serpentine celestial sword. The serpentine celestial sword seemed to have intelligence. It flashed red and charged forward. The distance between the swords shrank from 7 inches to 3 inches. The moment the shadow moved, a crack was ripped over in the sky. The All-Seer's indifference changed for the first time. His eyes shined brightly as he stared at the shadow of the sword and laughed. Good. Ling Tianhu, since you were able to refine a sword to this degree, I will use 70% of my power to battle you. After the grey-robed All-Seer finished speaking, he took a step back and opened his mouth to let out a roar. His face was extremely ferocious when he let out that roar, and countless strands of slaughter energy rushed out from his body. The slaughter energy surrounded him before finally charging forward. It fused with the slaughter sword, causing the power of the slaughter sword to increase greatly. The 3-inch distance between the two swords instantly collapsed. Both swords, carrying unimaginable power, collided. Boom! Just at this instant, a large amount of 7-colored light appeared in the dark sky. This 7-colored light surrounded the three of them, and the next instant, they were in space outside the planet. The tips of the two swords collided in space. Boom, 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 boom. As the two swords continued to collide, a powerful storm formed in space. As the two swords constantly collided, the slaughter energy sword finally collapsed and was pushed back. It turned into countless strands of slaughter energy before dissipating. As for the serpentine celestial sword, a crack appeared in its middle and it was pushed back. The slaughter energy lasted for 3 breaths of time before it eventually collapsed and turned into countless strands of grey gas that returned to the grey-robed All-Seer. The All-Seer smiled before he turned around and charged back to planet Tian Yun. Ling Tianhu, this old man doesn't care about your matter anymore. As the serpentine celestial sword retreated, a shadow appeared from the crack and turned into Ling Tianhu. He stared at the sky and sneered. All-Seer, you son of a gun, you finally appeared. There was a flash of 7-colored light where Ling Tianhu was looking and the All-Seer's figure lowly condensed. This figure was an illusion formed by the 7-colored light. After he appeared, he looked at Ling Tianhu and calmly said, Ling Tianhu, we already fought, but you have no reason to interfere with the matters of my heavenly fate sect. Ling Tianhu rolled his eyes and sneered while not looking at the All-Seer. Instead, his eyes fell on Wang Lin, and he shouted, Wang Lin, this old man's Da Lu sword sect is missing an elder. Are you willing to become an elder of the Da Lu sword sect? The All-Seer frowned. Wang Lin's eyes lit up. Hundreds of thoughts flashed through his mind before he clasped his hands and said, Thank you. Ling Tianhu looked at the All-Seer and sneered. All-Seer, according to our agreement, this old man now has a reason to intervene. The All-Seer's eyebrows relaxed. After pondering for a moment, he let out a smile and looked profoundly at Wang Lin. He calmly said, Is that so? Then let's forget it. He spoke casually before disappearing in a ray of 7-colored light. The scene caused Wang Lin's mind to tremble. He stared at where the All-Seer disappeared and began to ponder. Ling Tianho's expression instantly became gloomy and he frowned. In the end, he simply slapped his bag of holding and 5 turtle shells appeared. They rotated in his hand, and Ling Tianhu would occasionally make some hand seals. Shortly after, Ling Tianho's expression became even more gloomy and he muttered, That damn son of a gun All-Seer, what does he mean by this? As he pondered, he raised his head and looked at Wang Lin. For Wang Lin to be schemed like this by the All-Seer means he must be very useful. I presume he is very useful to the All-Seer's Dao, especially considering this person is part of the Vermilion Bird series. The All-Seer's scheme against him must be of great importance, or else he wouldn't be willing to offend the 4 divine sect just for him. If his scheme is successful, he might obtain power that can shake the 4 divine sect. If this is true, then I have to stop that old son of a gun. Otherwise, if the All-Seer succeeds, I'll never have any hope of turning things against him in my life. Thoughts quickly flashed through Ling Tianho's mind. However, if Wang Lin is really so important to him, why did he leave so calmly? Not even the divination diagram could see anything. Strange. Ling Tianhu released a dark sigh as he looked at Wang Lin and slowly said, Wang Lin, even if I hadn't come to help you today, the All-Seer wouldn't dare to kill you so easily. After all, you are part of the Vermilion Bird series. Wang Lin was still thinking about the relationship between Ling Tianhu and the All-Seer from beginning to end. At this moment, he clasped his hands. There are 3 people in the Vermilion Bird series, and I'm merely one of them. In short, Junior will remember Sword Saint's help. Ling Tianhu nodded and smiled. When the Vermilion Bird Holy Emperor came to power, I was just a junior. His Grace has helped me before, but it has been too long and I doubt he remembers. You are our Vermilion Bird series, and if you obtain the right opportunity, you will be the next Vermilion Bird Holy Emperor. It is better for us to talk as equals. After all, you are no longer a disciple of that old son of a gun, the All-Seer. Wang Lin's expression was calm and he said, Sword Saint is being polite. Since this is the case, I'll listen to Sword Saint. Ling Tianhu laughed and extended his hand. Fellow cultivator Wang, follow this old man to planet Da Lu. Once the tide abyss opens, we will go to the celestial cave. Wang Lin smiled and nodded. Please lead the way. The 2 of them quickly moved. Planet Da Lu was not far away and they were both powerful cultivators, so they were naturally very fast. It didn't take long before planet Da Lu appeared before them. Along the way, Ling Tianhu never talked about how Wang Lin had killed his disciples. It was as if he had forgotten about it. Instead, he talked about celestial spells and Tao with Wang Lin. It could be said that this was the first time he and Wang Lin had gotten to talk with each other. Along the way, although Wang Lin didn't speak much, what he said made Ling Tianhu look at him with admiration. This Wang Lin is indeed worthy of being one of the Vermilion Bird series. Not only is his cultivation powerful, his insight and comprehension are equally amazing. While they spoke, Wang Lin was also pondering the matter about the extreme yang and made a plan. Wang Lin thought for a long time and couldn't understand what the All-Seer was thinking for dismissing this so casually. However, he had a vague guess that the All-Seer's action wasn't targeted at him. But Wang Lin looked at Ling Tianhu behind him. Was this Ling Tianhu? From a distance, planet Da Lu looked to be filled with sword energy in addition to being blue. This sword energy looked very chaotic and scattered. However, once your cultivation reached a certain degree, you would notice, after careful observation, that this sword energy was not normal. This sword energy wasn't being released by cultivators, but by planet Da Lu itself. It was because of this that it looked rather chaotic. However, Wang Lin realized that if someone were to guide this sword energy, the power would be earth-shaking. Planet Da Lu does not belong in the area of planet Tianyun. This old man spent painstaking effort to complete a personal request from the Brilliant Void Cultivation Sect and was rewarded this planet. This planet came from an illusionary planet that is always burning in the Brilliant Void Hell. That illusionary planet was very large, thousands of times larger than planet Tianyun. It was refined as a sword by Master Void Spirit of the Brilliant Void Cultivation Sect. That's how planet Da Lu came to be. Ling Tianho's voice was calm, but there was a trace of pride in it. Due to an incident, the illusionary planet collapsed, and planet Da Lu is a fragment from the collapsed planet. Brilliant Void. Wang Lin's expression changed. This was the second time he had heard this. The first time he heard it was from Qing Shui. It seemed the Alliance star system was once called the Brilliant Void star system. Cultivation sect. Could this be a cultivation sect that is named Brilliant Void? Wang Lin pondered. The Brilliant Void Cultivation Sect is the only rank 9 cultivation planet in the Alliance. However, it is just referred to as the Brilliant Void Cultivation Sect by everyone. Ling Tianhu naturally saw Wang Lin's confusion and realized that Wang Lin didn't know much about this, so he offered an explanation. They are the only ones who kept the old name Brilliant Void. Reminiscence filled Ling Tianho's eyes. In the Alliance star system, after someone's cultivation has reached a certain level, You may choose to not join the Cultivation Alliance. However, that person would still respect the Brilliant Void Cultivation Sect. It is an honor to be invited by them. Every 3,000 years, the Brilliant Void Cultivation Sect sends out 3 invitation jades to recognized cultivators to be invited to the Brilliant Void Hell to cultivate. Back then, both me and the All-Seer obtained the invitations together. Brilliant Void. Wang Lin silently digested what Ling Tianhu had said. A moment later, his eyes lit up and he said, "Since every 3,000 years people enter, then I presume people of the Brilliant Void Cultivation Sect come out. Of course there are people that come out. Do you remember the woman who looked like a mortal woman when you first came back? Back then, the third person that went with me and the All-Seer was her. She had a female disciple beside her, and if I'm not wrong, she is from the Brilliant Void Cultivation Sect." Wang Lin was startled. The first person he thought about was the woman in pink that invited him. The Brilliant Void Cultivation Sect retained an ancient tradition. There is always a Brilliant Void Saintress. I just don't know if she is the Saintress. Brilliant Void Saintress. Wang Lin rubbed his temples. Everything Ling Tianhu's had said were things he had not heard of before. Your Four Divine Sect was the overlord of Brilliant Void a very long time ago. Unfortunately, Ling Tianhu shook his head and didn't continue. However, these words caused Wang Lin's mind to tremble when he heard it. The Four Divine Sect was once the overlord of Brilliant Void. Wang Lin had once guessed the power of the Four Divine Sect, but it seemed the Four Divine Sect had far surpassed his imagination. As the two moved, planet Da Lu became closer and closer. This was the first time Wang Lin had come to planet Da Lu. The closer he got, the more he could feel the endless sword energy that was constantly being sent out. Oceans occupied a majority of the planet, and the only sect on this planet was the Da Lu Sword Sect. Those towers all appeared before Wang Lin's eyes one by one. The disciples of the Da Lu Sword Sect flew into the air. They filled the air, and there were at least 10,000 of them. However, what Wang Lin found strange was that most of them were at the ascendant stage. Although there were a few illusionary yin cultivators, there was not a single corporeal yang cultivator. Ling Tianhu faintly smiled and said, "Do you find it weird that the Grand Da Lu Sword Sect has so few second-step cultivators?" Wang Lin didn't conceal it and nodded. It indeed is strange. The disciples of the Heavenly Fate Sect's 7 divisions suppress their cultivation every day. They fear that once they lose control of their seals, they will be devoured by that old son of a gun. This isn't the case here. It's just that those who entered the second step have another place to go. Each of the tens of thousands of cultivators below them had a big sword on their back. They were all very respectful. When Wang Lin and Ling Tianhu descended, all of them bowed in unison. "Welcome, Sect Master Sword Saint." This sound was like a mighty bolt of thunder that echoed across planet Da Lu. Ling Tianhu laughed. At this moment, a few dozen people flew out toward Ling Tianhu. They were very respectful, and some of them were ones that followed Ling Tianhu to the Heavenly Fate Sect, so they knew Wang Lin. When they saw Wang Lin, their expressions became strange. They couldn't guess why Wang Lin was together with Ling Tianhu. Wang Lin's gaze swept those tens of thousands of people, and he had a thought. Back during the battle with the Alliance in the northern region, I met Chen Long, but here I don't see him. Ling Tianhu waved his sleeves, then he flew forward and arrived at the largest tower. From today onward, Wang Lin will be an elder of my Da Lu Sword Sect. Ling Tianhu only said one thing before disappearing into the large tower. "Elder Wang, I'm going to go into closed-door cultivation for this period of time. You will be safe on my planet Da Lu." Ling Tianhu's divine sense echoed inside Wang Lin's ears. The implication of Ling Tianhu to tell me so many secrets and helping me is to set up a good relationship with me. I fear a majority of the reason is that I'm part of the Vermilion Bird series. And a part of it was to reassure me. Wang Lin's expression was calm, but in his heart he slowly pondered this. After Ling Tianhu entered the tower, the tens of thousands of Da Lu Sword Sect disciples all looked at Wang Lin. Wang Lin was accustomed to this kind of attention. His divine sense calmly spread out in all directions like a storm. The divine sense of an early-stage nirvana scryer cultivator was not something these Da Lu sword sect disciples could deal with. With a sweep of his divine sense, all the Da Lu sword sect disciples' expressions changed greatly. They looked at Wang Lin with respect in their eyes. Wang Lin calmly said, "Where is this old man staying?" A beautiful female cultivator quickly moved forward and stopped 100 feet from Wang Lin. She respectfully said, "Disciple Ju Xiu greets Elder." Elder came suddenly, so. Generally, the elders select their own residences. Ju Xiu's voice was a little stiff. Wang Lin took a step and disappeared. When reappeared, he was next to a tower 5,000 kilometers away. After taking a glance, Wang Lin didn't enter but sat down outside the tower. After sitting down, he waved his hand and a large amount of restrictions appeared. As for the disciples, they all scattered. They would occasionally look at where Wang Lin was. Wang Lin's expression was gloomy as he sat there. He had a feeling that everything had been part of the All-Seer's plan, as if his every step was foreseen by the All-Seer. "All-Seer, back then, I made you make a mistake. Today, I'll let you be completely wrong." Wang Lin slapped his bag of holding and the extreme yang appeared like a sun in his hand. Wang Lin didn't dare to hold it directly but with his power. Wang Lin had a clear feeling that if he held it in his palm, the heat would pierce his hand. Even his origin soul would be seriously injured. If it wasn't for the fact that he had the body of an ancient god, he wouldn't even be able to withstanding holding it with his power. "If my ancient god body was a bit stronger, I could hold it without being hurt." Wang Lin took a deep breath. He wasn't afraid that Ling Tianhu would see this. This was something formed by his karma with the All-Seer. If someone were to steal it, it would resolve the situation. However, this was at most simply resolving the situation, not breaking it. To break this scheme, he had to do something the All-Seer didn't expect and make his divination wrong. After pondering for a long time, Wang Lin clenched his teeth as he held a trace of the extreme yang and pressed it against between his eyebrows. He felt pain coming from between his eyebrows and the extreme yang disappeared. However, it was as if a sea of flames with unimaginable heat had appeared in his body. It made him feel as if he was being baked into an oven. Ling Tianhu sat inside the roaring tower on planet Da Lu, his eyes giving off a demonic glow. The crack between his eyebrows opened once more. He stared at the direction Wang Lin was in and pondered. "This is extreme yang." Ling Tianhu's eyes suddenly narrowed. "All-Seer, you old son of a gun, what are you baiting with that extreme yang? What is your goal in the end?" Ling Tianhu raised his right hand, but after a long time, he lowered it. He shook his head and muttered, "All-Seer, you son of a gun, could it be you want me to take that extreme yang?" The sea of flames inside Wang Lin's body was monstrous and continued to burn. White mist came out from his body, but the strange thing was, there was no trace of his clothes burning. Large beads of sweat appeared all over Wang Lin's body, his clothes were soaked in an instant. This sea of flames was like a storm that raged across Wang Lin's body, and sounds of things bursting came from all over his body. These flames was extremely fierce, and in just a short moment, they reached a terrifying degree. The pain that came from Wang Lin's body made him have a hideous expression on his face. It was as if a mortal had swallowed a burning coal. If it wasn't for Wang Lin's strong will, he would have already roared in a pain. If it was another cultivator, even if they had a higher cultivation level, they wouldn't be able to bear this heat. It was only because he had the body of an ancient god that he was able to tolerate it. However, if this lasted for too long, even Wang Lin wouldn't be able to withstand it with his ancient god body. Time slowly passed. It was only 15 minutes, but it felt like years for Wang Lin. The flame became even more intense and Wang Lin's body couldn't help but tremble. He suddenly opened his eyes. It was as if there were two blue flames inside his eyes. As these invisible flames spread, the air around him began to crackle under the heat. When the flames became even more intense, Wang Lin couldn't help but let out a roar. This roar was like a thunderous rumble that quickly spread across the area. At this moment, on the trident-like mountain where the All-Seer was sitting, his closed eyes opened slightly, revealing a gaze that could see through everything. His gaze fell on the sky as if it could penetrate any distance and saw Wang Lin on planet Da Lu. The All-Seer's expression didn't change, but he frowned slightly and softly said, "That is not something you can devour. You will spit it out in 7 breaths of time. 1. 2. The All-Seer's eyes were crystal clear as he slowly muttered. Wang Lin's body gave off a demonic red glow. This glow came from the heat inside his body as the endless flames continued to burn him. Soon, the flames had spread to every part of Wang Lin's body. At this moment, the All-Seer had counted to 5. 6. The sea of flames seemed to exploded within Wang Lin's body, and a large amount blood sprayed out from his body. Wang Lin had a feeling that if he didn't spit this extreme yang out, he would be burned to ashes. 7. The All-Seer softly shouted the last word. At this instant, the sea of flames inside Wang Lin's body completely exploded. It gathered from every part of Wang Lin's body and charged toward his origin soul. However, just at this moment, Wang Lin's origin soul was shrouded by clouds and the heaven-defying bead appeared. The moment the heaven-defying bead appeared, the raging flame arrived. However, before it could harm Wang Lin's origin soul, a strange suction force came from the heaven-defying bead, and all the flames were absorbed by it. Wang Lin's eyes shined brightly as the pain in his body disappeared and was replaced with an indescribable comfort. After the heaven-defying bead absorbed all the flames, the sun mark began to flash rapidly. Its brightness was something no one but Wang Lin could see. The instant the light came from the heaven-defying bead, Ling Tianhu exclaimed and closed his eyes. He didn't even have time to get up before rapidly retreating. At that instant, he saw the flame in Wang Lin's body disappear. Then he suddenly had the feeling that a catastrophe was upon him. He had never experienced this feeling, even when he faced the All-Seer. Only back when he went to the brilliant Void Cultivation sect did he have a similar feeling. Now, tens of thousands of years later, he once again felt this feeling, as if he was going to lose his wits if he didn't retreat. What light is this? Panic filled his eyes as Ling Tianhu quickly retreated, and his expression changed greatly. He had a vague feeling that the invisible light was rapidly approaching. Terrified, his right hand slapped his forehead and a flash came out from his eyebrows. The sword shadow that was used against the All-Seer flew out and charged forward without any hesitation. The moment the sword shadow flew out, the invisible light appeared and collided with it. No outsider could hear or feel this collision, but Ling Tianhu directly coughed out a large mouthful of blood. His body smashed into the wall and flew out of the tower. The sword shadow trembled and almost collapsed. Then it returned back between Ling Tianhu's eyebrows after letting out a miserable cry. Ling Tianhu's face became even more pale and he coughed out even more blood. His body became dispirited. Panicking, his scalp tingled as he charged underground and rushed toward the center of planet Dalu without any hesitation. As he escaped, Ling Tianhu's hands formed seals to open seals before him. Panic filled his mind, and the only thought he could think of was entering the center of planet Dalu. As for the All-Seer on top of the Trident Peak mountain on planet Tianyun, he was calm at first, but soon his expression changed greatly. This kind of change in expression was extremely rare for the All-Seer. If an outsider saw the current All-Seer, they would be in complete belief. The omnipotent All-Seer who was never wrong and whose expression would never change even if Mount Tai collapsed before him would never show such an expression. More importantly, if it was just his expression changing, it wouldn't be such a big deal, but there was a trace of shock in his eyes. As a member of the Alliance Elder Group and the Lord of Planet Tianyun, he was one who could foresee the world, and his schemes were as deep as the ocean. This shock was enough to shake the entire alliance. He gasped and disbelief filled his face. His right hand rapidly moved before his body and a 7-colored cloud appeared. The cloud flew forward as if it was resisting something. However, when the 7-colored cloud floated 5 feet away, it was as if an invisible force closed in and the cloud collapsed. After the cloud collapsed, a hand appeared from the void and mercilessly attempted to grab the All-Seer. This video will end here.